Go ahead, Irene.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Energy. Oh, got it? Okay. Sorry, we had a little feedback there. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Planning Energy Environmental Quality Committee meeting. Today is June 4th, and it's 9:32 in the morning, and we have everybody on our committee here, along with some people for public comment and lots of people on our agenda. So welcome, everyone. It's nice to see so many faces in here. So we will start with public comment, and to get that underway, I'm going to read the rules for public comment, that you agree to a 3-minute limit, to not raise your voice, to not use lewd, obscene, profane, slanderous, or libelous language, or speak or act in a manner that would tend to incite a breach of the peace, that you agree not to speak about county personnel matters. Personnel matters include comments about the job performance of named county employees other than elected officials. After 3 minutes, you agree to leave the microphone and yield the floor. You can't transfer time to another person. You agree to be courteous and to not make comments, gestures, outbursts, or other disruptions while other members of the public or legislature are speaking. And you agree that if you cause a disruption and are asked to leave, that you will leave the chambers. So I know both of these speakers, and I'm very confident that they understand these rules. So we'll just get it underway. And Andre, if you'd like to speak first, and come on up to a microphone so we can hear you.
Oh, let's set a timer again so I can keep track of the time set.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, we're not as fancy in this as the full legislature. We don't have the whole timer set on the screen.
Yeah, that would be useful, just like a monitor thing. So, okay, yep. I'll start. Wait, hold on. 3 minutes.
Great, thanks, Andre.
Check. All right. I'll just try to summarize some stuff. Just have a few bullet points. We should think. Well, there are a couple of the topics that were on the printout for this specific committee meeting were. Planning and land management were among the mix of the topics. I think we should think carefully about the long-term profile of land ownership, who owns the land, and which economic models are in place on top of the land. The field of political economy looks at this a lot. I think there's multiple right or correct or viable solutions. I don't think there's one specific configuration that's the only correct way. There's many different configurations that have proven to work based on various principles. I would probably recommend things like decentralized land ownership as opposed to centralized land ownership. There's good things from conservative philosophies and good things from liberal philosophies that are viable, that make sense, more streamlined. Well, I don't know if I have time to go into all this. Let's see. Less regulations makes it easier for people to build. And so when there's a lot of barriers to construction through zoning and regulations, it gives an unfair advantage to super wealthy real estate corporations because they can afford to meet all those requirements, but normal people with like 1 or 2 properties can't necessarily afford to meet those same requirements to build. There should be some regulations. There should be no lead, for example, in like the Fall Creek and stuff like that. But over excessive regulations interferes with local economy. Decentralized nonprofit real estate within, but it has to be well researched so that it's done well. I'm not going to have time. Let's see here. One thing to think about is incentive structures. Not just what do we build this month, but how does the system that we create now evolve over time? So and a big part of that is incentive structures. What will this system evolve to in 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 200 years? And so when you set up incentive structures that's like guiding the evolution of the system long term, that's an important thing to think about. Okay, different topic now from democratic mechanisms, self-evolving systems, and land ownership, going to a more specific infrastructure. Water purification. We should have Well, if the plastic, they did autopsies on, people have on average a plastic spoon's worth of plastic in their brain after they die, and it causes Alzheimer's, and all plastic leaches in, even the higher quality kind. So I'd recommend never drinking out of plastic containers if possible. I just did it today, but I usually try not to. And water purification systems on public library and visitor center and maybe farmers market, like 2 or 3 main downtown locations, would be advisable. Modern scientific consensus of toxicologists and neuroscientists is that the federal guidelines haven't been updated in like 20 years for tap water. So even though it's better than having like bacteria in there, we should, that's key what they do with the municipalities. An extra level of filtration before drinking it is recommended based on disinfectant byproducts, agricultural chemicals that make it through the municipal process, and industrial chemicals that make it through. So water purification systems are recommended by neuroscientists and toxicologists that specifically publish studies on tap water quality. Like that's their main specialty. That's what they say.
Andre? Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
I heard your gentle chime, and I'm trying to be gentle too.
Yeah, that was the last bullet point. And they said if you go over by like a few seconds, that's cool. So just finishing that last bullet point. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Chris Kale.
Hi, I'm going to set this up and try and keep in the time. I think that I was encouraged to come here by seeing that one of the agenda items was additions to the Ag District. I've worked with agricultural development over decades, and I just want to highlight a problem that is in my town in Ulysses. We're currently going over at the town board level a comprehensive plan. There will be a review from the Ag and Farmland Protection Board at some point. There may be a review from Ag and Markets on the state level. But all of that's sort of after the fact. A couple of iterations previous to this, I was on an agriculture committee when Ulysses had an active agriculture committee. That's been difficult. There's been a lot of pressure on farmers, as we all know, hard for them to volunteer time. Also, the approach has been, you come to us on our schedule, and that doesn't often work with farmers. Back to the Ag and Farmland Protection Board, that is also structured that the whole process gets gone through and then there's a review. But in past, there has been some real active involvement on the part of the staff to the Ag and Farmland Protection Board to help in guiding that work through the process, both the draft and the comp plan, and then as it's brought before the board as well. We have a situation, unfortunately, where there are things that I'm 99% sure are still the same as they were, that houses are legitimately part of an agriculture district for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is that many farmers use less than a quarter acre of land for their farms. Many farm enterprises start on a house lot and then, and that's true for things in the town of Ithaca, things in the town of Ulysses. I mean, you can take pictures and point to them. So the repeated statements that these houses are included in the ag district erroneously by town board members and head of the planning board, town supervisor, and so on, need some correction. Ideally, not in public. That's awkward. But there's that. Additionally, associated with that, there is a sense that the county's housing plan emphasizes infill development, which I think it does. But I think there's a difference between infill development in an agricultural district and infill development in downtown Ithaca or a suburb. So I don't know how it works to get more proactive involvement. You know, maybe there isn't adequate funding anymore for that to be done by staff people, in which case maybe the Ag and Farmland Protection Board needs to have a system of having the volunteers be more proactive, but it just does not work well. Oops, I'm done. Sorry. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris. And Chris and Andre too, you know, if I know both of you have a lot of thoughts, feel free to write to me or the committee to put more of your thoughts down than you can summarize in 3 minutes. But thank you for coming. All right, just gonna move now to see if anybody has any suggested changes to the agenda. And seeing none, I will move on to our next item, which is to ask for approval of the minutes from last month. So Adam moves and Judith seconds. Any comments, discussion, other than thank you, Taylor? I thought they looked great. I reviewed, I wasn't here, but I thought they looked good. So all in favor of approving the minutes? That's unanimous. Great. County Administrator's Report. That would be you, Norma.
Yeah, I just have a couple of things to share with the committee. We are we have departments that are working with the Soil and Water Conservation District to explore environmental quality grant opportunities, particularly the highway departments discussing options for culvert replacement for water quality management, stormwater management and such. So that's been going on as part of our budget discussions. We are, of course, collecting budget submissions right now. So just kind of keeping that on everybody's radar because it's coming soon. And then just finally, county administration's compiling agency key performance indicators for the agencies, and we will be producing those reports, and I expect to have a report for each committee that oversees. In this case, I think it would be CCE and Soil and Water. We'll have those reports next month.
Great, good, thank you. Any questions for Norma? Okay, seeing none, we will move on now to reports from our advisory board, starting with Crystal. You want to come on up? It looks like we've got a couple of resolutions from you. And this relates to conversations that have been ongoing for the past couple of meetings, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there will be much more to discuss, but I would look for somebody to move our first resolution of making a negative determination of environmental significance in relation to the resolution, and action on the addition of predominantly viable agricultural land to Ag District 1 in the town of Danby and Ag District 2 in the towns of Danby and Ithaca, ID number 14122. Can I get somebody to move? Judith and Rachel seconds. Any discussion about that? All in agreement that there's no significant environmental impact. All right, I'll ask for a vote. All in favor? Yeah, it looks unanimous, Taylor. Moving on then to the meteor resolution, which is the actual action to add the predominantly viable agriculture land to the Ag District number 1 in the town of Danby and Ag District number 2 in the town of Danby and Ithaca, with the ID number 14123. Can I get somebody to move? Christy moves, Rachel seconds. And any discussion, questions, thoughts? Adam, then Judith.
I believe we discussed this last time as well, but I just wanted to get a reminder why these parcels were chosen, whereas the other one was rejected.
Sure, I can go over that again. So the parcels that were rejected were located in the village of Freeville, in an area that does have adjacent kind of suburban style residential development and is zoned for village density residential development. When I spoke with the planning board, they indicated a support for having this farm be in the village and finding ways to support that activity. But we don't want to create a situation where there's an inherent conflict between the ag district and the underlying zoning, particularly in an area like a village, and particularly as part of the addition process, as opposed to the more comprehensive review where we would take a look at the whole picture of the ag district.
Thank you.
And Judith?
I just want to clarify the thing that happened between the last time we talked about this at the last peak meeting and today is the public hearing that happened on May 19th.
Yes.
Like the only thing that happened in between.
Well, also the seeker process, the EAF,
Right.
yeah, that's new too. But yes, nothing else has changed. It's all the same.
And what was the outcome of the seeker process?
You just did the
That's what we just voted on.
Yes,
we
Okay.
just voted
All
on.
right. Good. Thank you.
Okay. And Iris, go ahead.
Possibly going back, but I just had a question about the endangered animals that were.
Yeah, that one, I've been advised by county planning that it's generally you include that because
Okay.
there's the possibility that there is an animal. We haven't done a survey that indicates it's not there.
And then other question, just to clarify, so does the resolution that's before us reflect your group's recommendations, or, because I know there was one parcel that was not recommended.
Right, the Freeville parcels were not recommended by the one landowner. And it's the recommendations of the AFPB. So it's a report that I prepared for the AFPB that was reviewed and discussed and approved by that. And it does reflect that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, seeing none, let's take a vote on this. All in favor? And unanimous again. Crystal, thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you so
I know
much,
both
everyone.
Rachel and I are on the AFPB and have seen, some of the in the background stuff that's come through on it too. So I know there's a lot of work that you put into doing this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, moving right along. Haley, come on up from the planning department. And I think a very minor addition to our agenda is that Haley would like to just briefly give an update about the NYSEG rate case before talking also about the induction stove project.
Yes, thank you. So just a really quick update. I sent you all an email letting you know of the PSC's ruling on the temporary rates. Since then, DPS staff has indicated that they're interested in going back to negotiations. And so that will commence on June 17th at 10 a.m. And so we're this is a little bit peculiar because basically they had said they couldn't reach a settlement. And so we went into an evidentiary hearing. And then basically we got this ruling from the PSC that said, you have to go back. So it's a little bit of, we're not sure how this is going to go. This hasn't happened, at least in the time that Terry and I have been participating. I don't even know if Irene has seen this happen. So we'll kind of keep you updated on the process. We're going to currently stick with the items that we talked about advocating for, but we'll see how it shakes out. And so hopefully I'll have an update at the next meeting after this negotiation meeting goes. Any questions on rate case?
Rachel.
So do you and Terry have a role in the settlement? Like, are you allowed to then testify again, or how does
That's
the attempted settlement?
A great question. We are parties to the case, so we can participate and, wholly or however it kind of shakes out. I don't know, and maybe this is an Irene question, if there will be another testimony round. I think it'll just be negotiations which are confidential. And so when we update this committee, we'll have to go into executive session to talk about what happens there.
And are those negotiations in Albany? Like, will the same issue come up where you won't be able to?
No, those should be virtual.
Okay.
Yeah, so we should be able to participate.
Great, thank you.
And all of what you said, Haley, is correct. Potentially, if there is an agreement reached this time through negotiations, there would be something called a joint petition that gets issued, and there is another round of evidentiary hearing on that. Just as a sideline update, in the New York State budget, they just passed actually, I'm trying to remember, is this in the budget or this is in the actual stuff that's being handled in the Assembly and Senate? But in any case, it's certainly passed the Senate and Assembly, and I forget if it's actually in the budget, that going forward, that they will have to allow virtual proceedings. So I think it's something in the Senate and Assembly that the governor will have to sign, but it did get passed in both Senate and Assembly. So hopefully going forward, that will happen also. Judith.
You may not have the answer to this, but I know Josh Riley has been raising questions about the finances of NYSEG and its parent companies. Do you know if that's part of the current situation, or is that all confidential and we wouldn't know?
It's hard to say. It's hard to say. That would be like a question for the PSC, because for some reason they've made this decision to put temporary rates in place and then kick it back to try to get a more full proposal kind of on the table. It could have influenced it. I don't know. And then for our constituents, the current rate increase is what, 3? All right, I'll just read it directly.
Thank
so
you.
I don't mess it up.
This is probably the minimum increase that we'll see, like this current rate increase? Okay.
Yeah, so the temporary rates are 3.7 for NYSEG electric customers, which will result in an estimated total bill impact of 0.2%. So the increase is just on the delivery, not on the supply. So that's how you get that total bill impact of being 0.2%.
No. When they say total bill impact, they're including both.
Right. So that's how it's
a cheat. But
that's how it's less.
But how is it so much less? They must be assuming that supply charges are going down.
Yeah, but
it's 3.7 to 0.2%. The delivery charges are a lot more than like 10% of the bill.
Yeah. There's a lot of problems with the way that they incorporate the
I think the important thing to note is that the 3.7% will be increasing on the delivery of electric.
And then for gas?
And then for gas, it's 0.5%. For gas
so
customers.
Relatively modest, more in line with inflation than what we've been seeing, but it's a minimum number and we don't know what the final number will be.
Correct.
And we have no idea how long these will last.
And it will be retroactive to June 1st.
How could, retroactive, but June 1st was only 3 days ago.
Yeah, but when these are temporary. When the final rate is decided, it will be retroactive.
Does that mean that people can pay their bill for June now, like at the end of June, and then later on they're billed more for the month of June, like to catch up?
Yes.
Yep.
It's called rate compression.
That's crazy. Thank you.
Yep. Yeah. I was going to have this as part of my chair report, but I'll just add it in here because it makes sense, is there were several provisions in the new budget that just got passed that are actually good news for ratepayers going forward. However, they don't apply to rate cases that have been filed before January 1st, 2027. So we're going to have some strategy conversations of how do we maneuver around that to potentially get more stuff into these negotiations that have been put into law but don't take effect for this rate case. So we'll see what we can do.
All right, let's lighten this mood up a little bit. I'm going to talk to you about a really cool program, the induction cooktop, which I've mentioned before. It's not completely done yet, so we have about 250 induction cooktops that we are handing out through the Healthy Neighborhoods program. And so this is available to anyone in the county. It's not income driven. Basically, you reach out to Healthy Neighborhoods and they will come and do an indoor air quality assessment of your home and provide you with a bunch of different materials, but they weren't looking at gas stoves. And so with a $30,000 NYSERDA grant, we were able to supply induction cooktops and compatible cookware to do this. So at the time, right now, 163 cooktops have been distributed. 6 months after folks receive a cooktop, they get a survey. So 92 surveys have been handed out, and we have 52 responses so far, so about a 56% response rate. And before I show you this awesome case study that I worked with Chris upstairs on, I wanted to read you some of the responses from the survey. So the question was, do you have any suggestions for improving your experience with the program? And so one, I plan on purchasing an induction cook stove within the next year to replace my gas stove. Just need to get electric ran by my electrician first. 2, no, I'm thrilled. I love that pans were included, really helpful, and I use them daily. 3, I wish neighboring counties had this opportunity, or that Tompkins County grant could be used by neighbors in Cayuga County. There is a need there, and the Auburn Health Department doesn't have this resource. And then the last question was, any additional comments or thoughts you would like to share? Thanks so much. This is a great example of what local government should be doing to help households explore electrification of appliances without huge individual investments. It makes me want to inquire an induction cook stove, ... if I can get my household on board. It was fantastic that you offered this. I really wanted to try an induction cooktop, and being able to do it for free was terrific. And the added benefit of getting free pots and pans was great. I picked up additional ones that work at the thrift store. So just a couple of little uplifting comments. Any questions on this before I show you the case study? Yes.
It sounds like some of the people who received these cooktops are now planning to invest in larger induction stoves. Will you get the cooktops back, or then do they have both? Like, how does it work?
We don't have a mechanism for getting them back. I mean, we would hope that they would go to the thrift store and then other folks can get them. But currently it's theirs to keep. Maybe they lend it to a family member or what have you.
So no, my family actually bought an induction cooktop to go next to our gas stove, and it's surprising sort of how much of our cooking we can shift over. It's not really practical for us to replace the gas stove because of the dimensions and everything, but we can do, 30% of our cooking on the induction, and that I think is good for our air quality.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions?
Should have come to you.
All right, let's see if this will work. Chris and I did practice it, so.
Across New York, families deserve access to safe, healthy, and efficient homes. With support from the New York State Research and Development Authority, Tompkins County was able to partner with the local Healthy Neighborhoods program. We piloted a new approach, expanding the Healthy Neighborhoods program by bringing induction cooking technology directly into residents' homes.
I got an email talking about this program and that the induction cooktop was being offered to anyone who wanted to try it. We had been interested in ways to use our gas range less often.
Through this effort, over 250 induction cooktops are being distributed along with compatible pots and pans, available to both homeowners and renters who currently have a gas stove in Tompkins County. This limited pilot is allowing us to evaluate how induction technology performs in real homes with real families. The results are clear. Residents report cooking experiences that are fast, responsive, and easy to use, without open flame or excess heat of a traditional gas stove.
There's no downside to it. It's really, here we can do something helpful to ourselves, helpful for the environment, and it works.
Induction cooking also supports broader public health and energy goals by reducing indoor air pollutants and reliance on fossil fuels. For participants, the impact is immediate and meaningful. Expanding the Healthy Neighborhoods program to include induction cooktops would allow more communities to benefit from this proven solution. This pilot demonstrates what's possible. Now is the opportunity to bring it to scale across New York State.
Certainly it made it easy for them to come out, give it to us, show us how to use it, get started, and then allows us to show other people how easy it is.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah, and a shout out to Karen and Edward, who are the sweetest couple I've ever met in my entire life. They were so kind. And also the Healthy Neighborhoods team, who actually goes out and demos the equipment with folks and make sure they know how to use it. And with that, that's all for me.
Great. Rachel, question?
I was trying to find in my notes. I don't remember which meeting it was at, but wasn't this a program that was either recently cut, or can you explain where it is right now?
Yes, and that kind of brings me to my other point. So the Healthy Neighborhoods program in the original budget that was put out by the governor did cut this program. However, with the new kind of addition that went out, basically, it's a 5-year program. They cut the 5th year. They've now reinstated that 5th year, and then it's still open to potentially happen again. And so the goal with this case study, which as you were listening, it's not really to go out to the public to promote the program, because we've already had a pretty good amount of advertisement, and people know about it and are signed up to participate, to hand out the rest of the cooktops. This is really the goal of this case study, is to send to the state Healthy Neighborhoods folks to not only say, hey, this is great, but also you should open up induction cooktops to everyone in the state to be included in this. So, sorry, I forgot to mention that.
Nice. Judith?
I just wanted to note that I believe that the library, in its library of things, has at least one induction cooktop that you can borrow.
That was from us. They had 3. I was under the impression they had all been stolen. Oh, no. And so I don't think that there are any more there. So we haven't replenished those because, they had been taken.
Sad.
Yeah.
Christy?
Just one thing to add, because when I first saw this, I asked myself, well, why induction and not electric? Because it does the same thing. And induction is way more expensive. Like if you go to buy a new oven, you're going to pay a lot more for induction. But I think one of the bigger benefits that we didn't get mentioned is that you're far less likely to burn yourself, and children are far less likely to burn themselves on induction, which could be potentially kind of like another marketing aspect of why you would want to invest in induction. Because it prevents those types of accidents.
Great point. And too, with the elderly community too, who may leave a burner on, they do shut off. They have timers. Also, if you spill something on it, the actual burner isn't the conductor of heat. It's the magnetic pot that's put on it. So you can't burn things onto the stove. But yeah, in addition, they're also just much more efficient. And so that's a little bit of the higher cost there too than a regular electric stove.
Great. Any other questions? All right, I have one. I know that this is not a program that's based on income, but do you have a sense of the income brackets and which people have been using this? Or
That's a great question. So, no. When we only get a little bit of information from the survey, I can look into, from our survey, Healthy Neighborhoods also does their own metrics, so I might be able to dig into that a little bit more. But really our only qualifier for this was that they had to have a gas stove currently and live in Tompkins County. Those were our two.
And then, again, this may be something you may or may not be able to dig into, but certainly induction is very important for households where kids have asthma, or I suppose where adults have asthma. Any sense of whether there have been those kind of health complications in the people that have adopted this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know, but I can follow up with the Healthy Neighborhoods program.
Great, thanks. Any other questions or thoughts for Haley? Well, thank you. Thank you for this project and the many projects that you keep moving forward on. And Chris and Monica, thank you both for work on this video. It's great.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Next we have Environmental Management Council giving us their annual report. Hi, Kate.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to move forward a little bit to get this mic. All right, let me share my screen here. You guys should have the slides. Oh, someone else is sharing.
I think I just got.
Oh, okay. Let's see if that request goes through. All right. These slides were created about a month ago when we switched around the agenda, so I've just updated them with the date and one other little piece, which I'll show you when we get there, that was an error. So you guys should have had our annual report from last year, and I just wanted to talk through a little bit about the annual report, but also look ahead to 2026, because we're now already halfway through it, even though I'm coming just now. So to give everyone a background on the EMC, we are a volunteer advisory group created under the New York State law, the Environmental Conservation Law, in 1970. 16 remain active across the state. Tompkins is one of the strongest. And we have been around since 1970. Well, I guess 1971. And we were added to the county charter in 2003. We advise you all on all things environmental, but specifically around things like land, public relations, sustainability. We will work with the Water Resources Council and the Climate and Sustainable Energy Board. We try not to overlap too much, but we try to collaborate as much as we can on those issues. How we are structured is kind of unique to other I guess subcommittees to this group or other councils. We have 9 seats that are at-large members. Those are county residents. We appoint them and they're approved by this body here. We have 10 municipal representatives. And so they are supposed to represent their conservation group or their advisory group or their sustainability group in their municipality, and they serve at the municipality's behest on our council. And those are approved by their municipality and then approved by this board as well. We have 2 student members. This is a new thing that was just started last year. Ages 16 and up, they are on there for 1-year terms to help kind of align, and it's a September to September term rather than ours, which are, you know, January to December, to kind of align with the school calendars. They are appointed by EMC members and then by the legislature as well. We will have 2 open student seats available on September 1st. Just always putting that out there. We are currently losing our, I believe he's going to graduate and we'll lose us unless he stays local, our 1 student member who's been on. We also have associate members. These are non-voting members. We really try to build that within our committee structures. We look for associate members first when we're filling vacancies because we want people who have been involved, know the EMC, understand what we're working on. And so anyone can join as an associate member. There is very little, just show up and participate. In our committees and working groups, we do have an executive committee. It's 3 chairs. We, of course, arrange all the meetings. We come and report to you guys. We pick the speakers that we're doing. And we also have a UNA committee. This UNA committee promotes the unique natural areas, which is what UNAs stand for. This is going to be a big committee that we're going to be focusing on this year, trying to figure out what's next for the UNAs. Last year, I'll get into that a little bit with my updates, but you should have seen that. Last year, we kind of updated some of the UNA maps. We have an outreach committee, which is officially new in last fall, although we've definitely been doing outreach and community events. We also have the Green Scene email that they do. We have a legislative affairs committee that is also actually very new, really trying to engage more with what's happening both through the Tompkins County Ledge in each municipality and at the state level. So trying to figure out how that committee can best keep tabs on all the pieces, moving pieces. And then we have a kind of internal membership engagement working group looking to build a more robust onboarding process and do some surveys to make sure we're supporting our members. There's a little snapshot of the 2025 EMC membership. I will note that actually that vacancy in Newfield is being filled that we have for 2026. We do have currently a few at-large membership vacancies in 2026. Some got shifted around, and we have one currently, and then we will have another student member opening up in September. So I wanted just to make a few highlights. Last year, and this is in the report, we really worked on our 5-year strategic plan. This was done in collaborations with a graduate class at the Cornell Brooks School. They were literally doing a strategic planning class for nonprofit and governmental agencies. It was a fantastic hands-on experience for the students and for us. We had to show up to a lot of their meetings. There were interviews that the students did to stakeholders, and they probably interviewed, I'd say, and the list was 100. We'll see how many they didn't quite interview that many, but definitely would send out forms to all of them. And then from there, we took their report that they created and kind of worked on it ourselves. What did we want to take forward? What did we want to keep? What did we think was too ambitious that the students had put forward? And out of that, we came up with kind of the committee structure I just mentioned. Another big piece in last fall, which is still ongoing, is the biosolids and with relating to PFAS resolution, and that interdepartmental working group did meet, and I think you'll hear that from other updates here, that work kind of continues onwards. A big push for the UNA committee was the last revisions of all of the boundaries. So this was revising 64 of the 194, and to just update it to modern technologies. Many of the UNAs were drawn on aerial maps with a Sharpie, and so this is using modern GIS and LiDAR techniques to actually better align those boundaries. And then after that was completed, the UNA members presented these updated maps to most of the municipalities. So hopefully your municipalities got a presentation from the UNA members about each municipality's UNAs. And something I just wanted to kind of put for looking forward is the UNA committee is trying to figure out what's next for the UNA maps. And one of the things we're struggling with this year was when a UNA comes up for redevelopment. Sometimes our data is a little old, specifically around the vulnerable species that are in a UNA. If it was ground truth 20 years ago, can we say that that species is still there? And we've hit a few places in Dryden. There are 2 UNA parcels that are up for redevelopment. We've been trying to make sure that their planning department knows about the UNAs, understands the importance of them, but our data sometimes is a little old. So in this next budget round, we are putting in some money to try to update and ground truth a few of those sites, specifically the ones with the vulnerable species that haven't been visited in maybe 20 years. So you'll be seeing that from us coming forward. We do produce the Green Scene newsletter. This is comes out every 2 weeks. It is comprehensive environmental newsletter for all kind of environmental goings-ons in Tompkins County. We really try to limit it to Tompkins County because it could get really enormous otherwise. People can email us, or groups can email us events. We have news articles. We've been highlighting UNAs that are publicly accessible recently in this year because we are at our 50th anniversary of the UNAs. So it's an exciting time, and so we want to make sure the public knows about these. And if you haven't subscribed, go on to the EMC website, and there's a subscribe button on our website. And the last thing that actually we wanted just to highlight was that every year we have a municipal conservation networking meeting. And so we invite each municipality, whatever boards that they and representatives they want to send, to meet together to talk about where the municipalities are struggling, how the EMC can support them, how we all can support each other. This meeting just happened for us again this year in May. Adam was there. I think it was well attended, and I think there were really great conversations, updating and hearing what is happening in each municipality, and then we broke into breakout groups for conversations that were of importance to kind of different folks based on what we were hearing, and it was a great conversation. So looking ahead to 2026, I sort of talked about this. We're going to be talking about what's next for the UNAs. UNAs right now, it is just a piece of paper that says there are important things. What are options that the county can take or we can help kind of facilitate with partners to better preserve some of these lands? Most of them are privately held, but do we want to start making a list to purchase? Should they ever come up for sale? Should we be working with the municipality? Should we be working with the land trust? And so we are starting to have those conversations with the land trust. We're actually, our meeting in July will actually be with the Danby Conservation Board and how they've done their conservation easements, and looking ahead, which is now looking backwards for our 2026 meetings. And just to note, if you guys want to come next week, our June meeting will be Gay Nicholson from Sustainable Tompkins will be coming to speak to the EMC, and then actually the Danby Conservation Board will be in July, along with our Legislative Action Committee. And yeah, we're going to be continuing to work on biosolids. We're going to be continuing to strengthen partnerships through our community outreach and doing public education. We're going to be trying to figure out how to better track and research all of the local and state initiatives. We're going to be liaisoning with your board. You'll see, if you haven't met Kath, she's here often at peak meetings to make sure, or attending virtually, so that we actually know a little bit better about what's going on at peak. And then we will be hopefully finishing up any of the presentations that need to happen in municipalities, and then responding to some of these impacts that we're starting to see to UNAs and discussing what's next. And that is all, and I'm happy to take questions about either the past, present, or future of the EMC.
John.
You said she was taking questions.
Yeah, I said John.
Oh, I couldn't hear you.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm not sure if you're familiar, but about 10 days ago, there was a new parcel of land, about 135 acres on South Hill, now known as the Sage Preserve, that was acquired by the town of Ithaca. Adam and I were there, and I know I see the South Hill swamp on your map, so this area definitely has some wet areas, and it is not currently going to be improved because the town is very busy on other projects. But it is now officially the town's. And so would that be a new spot on your map?
Right now, I do not believe new areas are being looked at to be added. I mean, certainly it may already be. Is it already a UNA? Do you know?
Well, it's not on the map that I just looked at.
That you just looked at. Then not necessarily. I mean, these maps were based on information that had been collected mostly from the 70s through the 90s, and then it's been working on refining them. We worked really closely with Robert Wesley to identify locations where crucial species were located, and he's kind of the expert in the area on that. However, that doesn't mean it shouldn't be added. And that is something that I would love if the town, I guess, or you think that it can be added to the UNA, to bring it to the UNA committee to consider. Again, there's not much teeth behind it, but it is a nice place to have a repository of what's really important, the boundaries of that. They may not necessarily map with exactly where the parcel was, which is also sometimes interesting, is to say, like, where is the crucial, unique area within it. So bring it to the UNA. I'd love to see what they think. I'd love to add more UNAs.
Well, I have a copy of the map here if you want to see where it is.
Yeah, I would love to.
Great. And Rachel, I saw your hand.
Thank you for the report, Kate. I was curious with the Legislative Affairs Committee, is there a place that they typically report out kind of things that they're seeing at the state level? Like, would that be in the newsletter? Or
it wouldn't be in the Green Scene newsletter right now. They're trying to figure out what their methodology for tracking and reporting is going to be. I mean, I think it's going to take about a year for them to really figure it out. My hope is that right now what they're doing is they're doing it at the EMC meetings. So we'll hear about it during their updates, unless they have to do something more timely that comes along between meetings, or when we won't have a meeting where there would be necessarily reporting. Like in May, we didn't have reporting. So if there's something came up that was urgent, they would try to get it to us ahead of time. But they're still trying to figure out what that would be. Right now, it would be during EMC meetings. But if there is a different way, like if they put together a tracking spreadsheet or a form or something like that that can kick out information, they would love feedback if you have ideas also on tracking systems.
I mean, I'm not sure about a tracking system. I just know there's so much going on at kind of all the different levels. But if there's a group that's already dedicated to kind of finding, especially state level initiatives or bills or something that's coming up that would affect us locally, and then kind of giving us a heads up before it's like, oh, it's happening next week or tomorrow or something, so that we can, if it's helpful, we can write, you know, a resolution in support or against, or however
that's the goal. Okay. And that's our 5-year goal. Okay. We're on year 1. Good. So I do, like, that was one of the things we identified in the 5-year strategic plan that we could provide for the legislature and for Tompkins County in general. And so that's how we're kind of trying to go about it, is to figure out how can we do that best. So we'll keep working on it.
Thank you.
Judith.
Thanks. I have something I wanted to mention. I'm sure you know about it, but I think it's generally worth raising again, that if somebody has private land and they sign a conservation easement, there is a state tax credit that comes with that the state actually pays the tax credit, so it doesn't impact our revenue. It's a really very helpful system that allows people to sort of opt in and not bear this whole cost.
Yeah, and that's great. And trying to figure out how we can show the different paths for the public and you know, and for all of us to understand, like, okay, I want to do something more with my land. What are my options? Like, what is that workflow? I think it is really hard to understand it all. And can we, maybe that's where we take on some responsibility of making it a little bit clearer what these different paths are, which ones are just, you know, a conservation easement versus fully conserving it and donating it to the land trust or something like that. Like, where are these different lines that we can work
I mean, this kind of paperwork can be very scary. So if there's some way that you can provide sort of a comfortable path, then that would be helpful for sure.
And I would just say coordinate with the land trust on doing that.
Yeah, we did. We had a conversation with land trust in April that we had March they presented, and then we're going to be definitely continuing conversations, because they're also not the only groups that are doing land conservation. They're a main one, but they're focusing on the kind of emerald necklace, and we've got UNAs that are outside that are not in their target area, and so we have to find other organizations and groups that might be doing it.
Yeah, great, cool. I just want to say, I mean, I remember being invited over to your house, how many years ago it was, when little teeny kids, who I'm sure are not so teeny anymore, and you were just like trying to figure out, what can I do? How can I? And this has been amazing, the way that you have grabbed a hold of the EMC and really worked to build momentum and interest and enthusiasm from the members, and a real plan of where you're going and what you're doing, and different committees. The case board, I think you know, is trying to emulate what you've done, because it's just so impressive, and I really want to thank you
Well, thank you.
for all of that.
I got to speak to the case board about strategic planning a little bit. I mean, we had the very huge benefit of using that class because I would not have been able to do otherwise. That's normally what a consultant would come in for to do for a group. So it's hard for volunteer boards to be able to access that. And so hopefully we can continue that through these other boards. Because I'm not sure they're going to teach that class again. Maybe they will, but it doesn't always come up regularly.
Yeah.
Cool.
So anyhow, thank you for your leadership with the EMC and for all the great work you guys are doing.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. All right. So next up, we have, I see somebody sitting over there. Is that Sarah? Is that you? Sarah, I haven't met you, so I didn't know who I was seeing. But Sarah is here from the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network. We had a little dropped ball when last month we had a proclamation about recognizing the lake and the value of the lake to the community. And so Sarah wasn't invited to receive the proclamation, and so we're having a do-over right now. And Monica, are you the picture taker, or is that Chris, or who's gonna? Okay, so I have the proclamation here, Sarah, but I do just want to read it again because the work that you do and the lake is so much. It's like a whole piece of our community. So I just want to read this again. Whereas the Tompkins County Legislature recognizes that the health, environmental integrity, and economic vitality of Tompkins County are closely tied to the quality of the Finger Lakes and the surrounding watersheds. And whereas the Finger Lakes serve as a vital source of clean, safe drinking water for residents throughout the Finger Lakes regions, including residents of Tompkins County, and many of these water bodies are designated as Class AAT protected water bodies. And whereas the Finger Lakes region represents an interconnected system of waters that spans multiple counties, linking communities through the shared environmental, economic, and cultural resources. And whereas Tompkins County is fortunate to be situated within the watersheds of two Finger Lakes, and both benefit from and contribute to the stewardship of these critical natural resources. And whereas in recent years, the Finger Lakes have experienced harmful algal blooms, driven in part by excess nutrients that promote the growth of algae and cyanobacteria. And whereas these harmful algal blooms pose a threat to water quality, public health, recreation, and local economies throughout the region. And whereas watershed organizations across the Finger Lakes region are advancing pollutant reduction strategies and promoting responsible land and water stewardship practices among residents, businesses, and institutions. And whereas the Tompkins County Legislature recognizes the important work of the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network, the Owasco Lake Watershed Association, Owasco Lake Management Council, in their efforts to protect and restore their respective lakes and watersheds. And whereas the Lake Friendly Living Coalition of the Finger Lakes provides conservation guidance through its Lake Friendly Living program and supports public outreach and education efforts during Lake Friendly Awareness Month each May. And whereas these efforts empower community members to take meaningful action to protect water quality and preserve the natural beauty and ecological health of the Finger Lakes for future generations. Now, therefore, it be it resolved that the Tompkins County Legislature commemorates the Finger Lakes community's celebration of Lake Friendly Living Awareness Month and proclaims the month of May 2026 as Lake Friendly Awareness Month. And so, Sarah, I'd like, if you want to come on up here, I can give you the proclamation. And I don't know if you have any few words that you want to say to us. Photo op.
Yes, thank you. I'm Sarah again. I'm from, I'll use the microphone. I yell a lot. That's what my kids say. Sorry. But I'm Sarah, and I'm with the Cayuga Lake Watershed Network, and I just want to say thank you to this body and for Irene and Judith for everything, for helping bring awareness to Lake Friendly Living Awareness Month in the Finger Lakes and all that you do to protect our lake every day. Lake Friendly Living is just a way for you and me to recognize that we have an impact on our lake, for us to take simple steps to protect our water quality. So little things like planting a rain garden or installing a rain barrel to just reducing maybe the amount of salt that we put on our property during the winter. So all of those little steps add up collectively, and thank you all for recognizing everything that we can do to protect our lake every day. So thank you very much. Thank you. It was so nice.
All right, so last on our agenda, certainly not least, is Cornell Cooperative Extension to talk to us about the work they do, and they are one of the organizations in our community that the county directly supports in our budget, and so this is an opportunity for us to hear undoubtedly more detail than what we get during the budget discussions, and so we're here to really learn about the organization's work and how we can support it.
Got it. I have to get my groove together. View. You'll quickly find out that I am not tech savvy at this moment. Is it showing? How is this working? I tell you. I do want help. I always want help. There we go. From beginning. That should do it. Yay.
Yeah, there we go. Yay.
This thing. Hi, I'm Cynthia Gaetani. I'm the Executive Director for Cornell Cooperative Extension here in Tompkins County, and I've been with the Extension Association now for 2 years. And Robert Brown, do you want to introduce yourself real quick?
Sure. I'm Rob Brown, Finance Director for Cooperative Extension Tompkins, and I've also been there for 2 years. We started together. So.
Yes. Okay, and it's nice to see you all again. Truly appreciate the opportunity to continue our conversation from May. Actually, I saw you all back in May, so it's nice to see you all again. So today, the topics that I was asked to go over and present are listed here. The request was for just another general overview of CCE because we are somewhat complicated and very fascinating. So these are the different areas of program that we're going to be talking about, just some general highlights, some highlights of accomplishments. There's a interest, especially going into the budget season, of our overall funding sources, the goals and the challenges that we anticipate for the coming year in relationship to that. And then we'll be talking about the county funding itself, how much CCE has been allocated for the past 5 years, how that funding had been used and what it helped us to accomplish, as well as what our future funding request needs. As we progress through, you'll find that a lot of the way we set this up was to kind of help give some validation to the end, which is the funding request. But at any point, if there's any questions, I like conversation. I'm much more of a conversation type of presenter. So if there's any questions as we go along, please let me know. Just our general overview. Cornell Cooperative Extension has been part of Tompkins County for 113 years now. That is, I think, important to highlight because it demonstrates our sustainability and our resiliency. Cornell Cooperative Extension by design is very adaptable, and we'll talk a little bit about how that looks from a budget standpoint. But I think that's pretty impressive, and it's important to highlight. we have a staff of about 108, and I say about because our staffing changes quite a bit, especially during the summer season because we operate a lot of camps. And so we hire more in the summer to cover camps. So you'll see those numbers kind of fluctuate, but consistently we are at the 108 year-round. We move up to the 145 in the summer season. 30 of those staff are paid directly from appropriations. So thinking about the target appropriations coming from the county, we mostly use the county appropriations to fund staff. And there's one staff person out of those 30 that is paid 100% from the appropriations. Most of the staff are paid in part by appropriations, and then the remaining pieces of their salaries or wages are paid through program grants or through IDC, which is, yes.
Yeah, IDC is?
It's the indirect cost, so it's what's charged to other programs to pay for the services. So it's like overhead.
Okay.
Does that help? Yeah. Want to add anything to?
You'll hear us say IDC a lot. Me especially, my life revolves around it. So the indirect cost rate, the operating expenditures as a percentage of our program expenditures is how we fund the overall structural existence of the association.
Okay, thanks. Okay. So the total payroll for that piece for the 30 staff paid directly is $1.1 million. So $410,000 of that. So in other words, the appropriations that we received this year is $123,000, I think it is $723,000. So obviously that $723,000 does not pay the full part of the $1.16 million. So the 410 remainder is supplemented by the state 224, which is the match that we get from the state of New York, plus the IDC. We also have been drawing down from our fund balance to pay the staff for the remainder. So I point that out because it's important that even though it's paying for staff, the appropriations go to support that staff. There's other mechanisms in place to also offset and pay for that staff. Does that make sense? Okay, so it's part of the structure, yes.
Do you want questions during, or should we?
I like questions. I think it's much more productive.
Is the drawdown of fund balance to pay payroll, is that something that's new, or has that just been kind of an ongoing part of the program?
You want me to go, or you want? Okay, it's an excellent question. It's actually been something that had been happening prior to, but it happened very quickly between 2023 and 2024 when Rob and I came on in 2024. There had been some structural changes and some correction to the operations of CCE that caused a significant drawdown of about $813,000 from the fund balance. Please tell me if I'm wrong, it's around that number. And we have been slowing that down, but we're still seeing that happen. Our goal is to get that to minimize that. Each year we've cut that drawdown in half. It is getting challenging though. There is a direct impact that the county appropriations has on our ability to minimize that drawdown from fund balance. We'll talk a little bit more about that, but our fund balance is one of our big challenges that we have in front of us.
Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Judith? Thanks. I was wondering, you mentioned the indirect costs, and it seems like if you're drawing down from fund balance and getting appropriations from the county and getting, matching from the state, that maybe the indirect costs that are being charged to organizations aren't high enough? Is that something that's legislated, like they're not allowed to increase them, or is it something that could be adjusted?
go ahead. This is your baby.
All right. So indirect cost rates are established as a purely mathematical function. It's a general operating expenditures as a program of as a percentage of program expenditures. So that's just what it is. Our functional challenge there, and where the appropriations from the county really help in for us to be nimble and responsive to different things, is not all funders offer indirect cost rate coverage or full amounts of indirect cost rate. Our indirect cost rate is 16%, substantially lower than many organizations, higher than some others. But a lot of our funders will pay us at 10% indirect. Filling in that with other unrestricted operating support in order to do the programs that the funders aren't capable of covering, that is one of the challenges that we face and one of the things that we really work hard on.
It's a lot of balancing. Good. I think this is also important to highlight is what also makes up Cornell Cooperative Extension is a huge number of volunteers. Our volunteers is the backbone of Cornell Cooperative Extension in terms of getting the work out there, master gardeners, citizen pruners, 4-H, all of that is really operating as it does because of volunteers. So there's a huge impact that our volunteers has in terms of making up staff, and if you think about a return on investment, it's an enormous contribution that this community makes. Within Cornell Cooperative Extension of Tompkins County, there are 5 different issue areas. We'll quickly review those, and 43 programs and projects. I will make a correction. It's 42 programs and projects. We lost the SNAP Ed program, so that was not included in this. Okay, so there's 42 programs. So these are the program areas. These are the 5 issue areas, but then within each issue area, we kind of expand that definition. So within 4-H, there's also youth development programs that take place. There's our family and community development, environment, which also includes energy and workforce, our nutrition, health and safety, and our financial education, as well as our agriculture and horticulture areas. Where I indicate other, that really are where we have a lot of projects and committee work that's focused on the county administration priorities. A lot of what's happening right now around SNAP is an example of some additional work that we do. This I thought was interesting. The last time we got together, we talked about how to demonstrate the work, because of all those programs, 42 programs and projects, being able to report on each and every one of them can be a real challenge. So we talked about how to show the work that comes out of CCE in relationship to an alignment with Tompkins County strategic plan that is in place. So what I've been able to do is look at our state reporting from 2025 and aligned all of the programs that report in the state reporting to the strategic priorities of the county to demonstrate the alignment that we have. Please know that the number of programs that we have represented in this depiction is about half of our programs. Not all of our programs report through state reporting, so it's not a full picture. And the other piece is that this is representative of the number of programs and the number of people they connect with. So it may be that we have a low number of individuals being impacted in this depiction, so that it looks like there's a lower alignment, but the social impact of those contacts are not represented in this depiction. For example, we have a social resource navigator program. One of those contacts has such a major social implication that it could save something like $10,000 in medical bills, or it could help resolve or keep them at home. There's a number of social implications that could take place that don't necessarily, are not necessarily demonstrated in this. What is demonstrated, though, that I want to continue to report on is that alignment that we have and our focus on making sure that our alignment is strong with the strategic plan of Tompkins County. You'll see that our greatest number of programs and number of individuals involved in programs related to climate and resiliency are the greatest. What's interesting about that is that's also where a majority of our funding comes from, and our funding meaning our grants and those types of dollars. So it makes sense that that's where the greatest number of people are being impacted. But again, just the point of this depiction is to demonstrate that we are focused on and we do have alignment with the county strategic priorities.
And the climate and resiliency also includes agriculture?
Actually agriculture is climate and resiliency. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I would say economic opportunity was where we had our workforce development program. Okay, do you want to
Alrighty.
talk about this? Or you want
So one of our questions was to talk a bit about the overall share of our funding, and I produce little pie charts like this pretty often. You can see on the right-hand side that New York State is our most substantial funder, and here we've split it out between state grants and the state matching funds to county funds, and it's important to understand that a major part of our funding structure is that the state does provide matching funds to county funds based on a formula in County Law 224, which is what created us. So the orange wedge there on that right-hand side, that's our cash grants. And because we are an independent, public, not-for-profit entity, so Cynthia and I and all of our colleagues are employees of the independent public nonprofit, CCE Tompkins, but we're also New York State Civil Service. So New York State funds our state benefits, and that's the wedge below. And that's also an advantage that our funders have in that, we have to fundraise and charge our funders less than 2% for fringe benefits, as opposed to the 60% rate of fringe benefits that the state is paying for everybody.
So the 224, that's the matching fund. Where's the matching fund in this pie chart? I'm a little confused.
That is not pulled out in that pie chart. It's within the orange slice of New York State funding that is the cash portion. So that would be our 224 funding and direct programmatic grants from the state. And then we have broken out there in the lower left side our local funding, the county, which we receive support through our appropriations, but also through contracts directly with programs. When we're talking about our budget with you here, we're generally talking about our appropriations because county service contracts, like our biodegradable waste diversion that we do, that's through a contract with recycling and materials management.
Can I ask you a question? I think you said to me, Rob, at one point, that the state matching comes with the county appropriations, but the county contracts don't have the same state match. Is that correct?
Correct. The formula is complicated. Part of New York State 224 does match against contracted services, but much of it matches only appropriations. So part of it is contracts and appropriations, and part of it is just appropriations.
So I think one thing we could consider in the legislature is whether there are contracts that might be legally funded through appropriations instead, because then there would be a benefit coming from the state. I guess, Norma, that's for you.
We had that conversation with these folks as well, so yeah, we'll be working on that.
So I just want to, we're talking about the 224 a lot, so I just want to make sure that I understand. There was somewhere in some of the supplemental materials that the first 100,000 is matched by the state 50%. So for the first 100,000 we give you guys, you get 50,000 from the state. And then the remainder of what we give you, the state gives 5 cents on the dollar, is that right?
That's the basic formula that's written into the statute, although the individual state budget does have some additional complications in the calculation. And of course, the state legislature does not make its decisions to fund cooperative extension in coordination with the decisions of every county legislature. So once the state passes their appropriations for 224, then my dear colleague Pam Jerzak, the budget director for all of cooperative extension, gets to the joyous duty of figuring out how that relates to the 53 cooperative extension associations that are funded out of the state pool. So there's weighting.
Okay, but so, you know, I did a quick back of the envelope based on last year's appropriation from your data. And so it looked like the 224 funding that you would get is 50,000 plus an additional 33,300. Is that roughly?
Let's see. So our 2026, looking at appropriations, contracts, everything weighting, we're looking at about 190,000 in New York State 224 funding, which with decreasing county funding is less than it's a straight up and down. Again, it's a county appropriations, county contracts, a bit of the weighting that my colleague I mentioned before is responsible for figuring out between all of the different counties' funding decisions. But yeah.
Delay. There's also a
yeah, I know. There's
delay, I believe.
Yeah.
For a 2-year delay. So they're actually looking at. So the calculations for the state 224 is also based on what appropriations were for 2 years prior. So there's a delay in the calculation also.
Okay.
It's New York State and it's complicated, but there's a, you know, so.
But so it's roughly 100,000.
We'll call
it.
No, it's roughly 200,000.
Yeah, we'll call it.
190.
Yeah.
Oh, 190, sorry.
190, yeah.
Okay.
And that's based on prior appropriation target numbers from 2024.
2024 numbers.
So it's always a lag, and so we won't know what our appropriations for the appropriation that we get in 2025. So, or 2026, what we're seeing now, the state match will not actually be based on that until 2028 or 8. So there's always like a 2-year delay. So we're 2 years behind in terms of how they calculate it. Does that make sense at all? Am I helping?
Well, of course not, but I get it.
It's very,
yeah, it's a mess. I hear you. Yeah.
So we can be completely transparent about the formula that you were describing that's written directly into the statute, and then the ways that it's implemented based on the various variables.
Yes, is a mess and
it's at least complicated. I don't know about a mess, but complicated.
Delayed. But so 190,000 is roughly what you get from the 224 of this orange wedge. How much money total does this orange wedge represent? Or I'm just trying to get a sense of, you know, what the 224 is in this orange wedge. How much of?
The rest of it is about 2.5 million.
Okay. So it's a small percentage.
Right. It's a small part of our state funding overall.
Small wedge. Okay.
But meaningful nonetheless.
Yeah. No, I'm not diminishing that, but I'm just trying to get a sense. Okay, thanks.
probably want to.
Yeah. So, and then the other point is that with the rest of our funding proportions, we have been really aggressively seeking to pursue additional funding supports to diversify, and so all of those wedges are there. The funding sources have been there. We've been leaning in on trying to find new private funders, foundations, or businesses, and we're taking a risk, and we've expanded our federal funding now of all times in order to try to help fill some of the gaps that we had. So,
one thing I don't see on there or specifically pulled out in there is Cornell. Does Cornell
funds us zero.
That's a great question. And that's a lot of misunderstanding. And one of the challenges that we have in terms of misunderstandings and how we operate, we are not employees of Cornell, and we don't receive any funding from Cornell.
And yet Cornell benefits enormously from your existence and your programs, and it's because of your programs that they are able to rake in hundreds of millions of dollars in grant funding.
So you can look at it as also that Cornell, as the land grant institution, is required to extend the education to the community through the extension system. So we are in place to help to make sure that that land grant mission that they, for what they exist for, is applied and executed within the community through the extension system. So they provide us the structure, and they do have some oversight in terms of our operations and our governance. But in terms of where we get the education information, it all comes from Cornell. So there is a partnership. That line. Yeah. So they are kind of, that's how they extend the education into the community, is through this system. Yeah.
And it's been part of other conversations.
Yeah, is there anything that precludes Cornell from giving money to you directly to help support?
Do you want to talk about the state?
That's a conversation for the Cornell Budget Office. They're not prohibited from it.
Okay, so there's nothing legally that prohibits them, and it's...
Although, the one thing to consider in the relationship is that New York State, like cooperative extension associations are, I call it the children of New York State. And the state has appointed Cornell as our regulator. So they do have a regulatory obligation for our oversight.
And I would say, there are benefits that Cornell does extend to us. They provide us the infrastructure for the finance system, a system that we use to do all of our finances through Acumatica is afforded to us from that. We have a structure of support for just how we are governed. They support us with our board, our IT system. So there's things that we...
you guys all have Cornell...
Yeah, so there are some structural...
.edu email addresses. And
it is part of our agreement. We have actually a business agreement with them, so there is also some compensation that is paid to them for some of their services, but there's also a lot that they provide to us. So there is some work in that direction to try to have some more accountability in that regard.
Okay. we'll leave it there for now from me. I'm not pushing it further right here, right now. But Judith.
I have two questions on this topic. The first is, if you didn't exist, would Cornell not be fulfilling its land grant responsibilities? And the second is there any precedent for other cooperative extensions receiving funds directly from their regulatory universities?
In other states, because of the structure of County Law 224, New York is very different in that they specifically made it so that we operate independently, so that we exist in each county, so that each county is very county focused on their needs. In other states, the university is the employer, and there's one extension that operates out of the university. So they are directly employees of the university, and they exist, that's more centralized. The decentralization in New York State is what makes it complicated, but also much more county-centric, and it helps, that relationship that we have with New York State gives us that extra ability to be agile and much more responsive to community-specific needs. There was a second part of your question.
If you didn't exist, would Cornell not be fulfilling its land grant responsibilities, in which case it seems like they owe you a lot?
So the state, each county has to, so 113 years ago, each county has to vote to create an extension. And so this county voted to create extension and to buy into the concept of Cornell Cooperative Extension in each and every county. Would it exist? It exists in other states, but it would have to change its model. But that's a state model that I think you're talking a lot more of a.
And in the tragedy that CCE Tompkins were to go under, then the people of Tompkins would certainly miss out a lot. The other 52 extensions in the other counties would continue to operate and fulfill the mission.
John?
Just briefly, do any of those grants that Irene was talking about that Cornell gets, is any of the overhead or matching stuff that's involved with those grants come your way?
No, not unless we're a research partner on it. Like, we do have funding agreements with Cornell. There are several research programs where we are part of it. Right? But it's not like direct structural funding from the university. As we are partnering with, the College of Human Ecology, researching two-generation parenting education models. All right, so that is a specific thing. There's real money in it, but we are part of that research.
Okay, moving on. Thank you. So as far as just our general overview, some takeaway points is, that the county priorities are definitely CCE Tompkins priorities. Our county funding is the foundation of CCE funding. Really important, if the county funding is what leverages 224 money, which helps us to leverage the grants and everything else that supports us. So if we didn't have the county funding, none of the other pieces would be there. They would all disappear. And we do have a very high return on investment because of that ability to leverage that funding and for all of the reasons of our impacts with our programs. I think one of the other things that's important, and just to go back to the previous slide, when it comes to our ability to leverage, for every $1,000 of a reduction or increase in county funding, that represents about $7,500 that we would have to leverage in order to make up for that difference from grants or other funding sources. So that $1,000 in county funding has that much of an impact on our overall ability to do work. Questions on that? 700, 5,000, yeah, 7,000.
So since the county target appropriations are our only recurring source of general operating support, then in order to make up that $1,000 loss, we would have to secure a new program grant at $7,500 with full indirect cost rate support of 16% in order to make up that 1,000. So making up this year's cuts, 2025 to 2026, minimum we had to secure new contracts and program grants of $265,000 in order to make up for the $36,000 that we lost.
All right, so this is the 5-year trend year over year of the county appropriations. This was the next piece that was asked as far as information you're all interested in. So this is our 5-year trend. I will point out that pre-COVID, and this is just history. Where that purple dot is, that was actually what the target appropriations were, but then COVID happened and there was a budget adjustment, and so the actual appropriation went down to 660,000, but it had started closer to the 750. Then with COVID, obviously, we changed operations and the county made major shifts. So for 2021 and 2020, you started seeing the appropriations going up, and then it leveled off in 2023 to 2025 in and around $760,000, which is what the target had been stable at. And then between 2025 and 2026, there was a reduction. Any questions on this?
What was the size of the reduction again?
About 36,000.
And this is another 5-year trend of what our fund balance looks like. As I spoke earlier, there was a restructuring that took place. We had a big drawdown in 2023. 2024 and 2025, that's when Rob and I came on. And you can see we still have some reductions in our fund balance happening, but it has slowed down significantly. You know, just attention to how that makeup of our funding and how we distribute, make choices around our funding is really what we're focused on at this point, as well as making sure we can secure more sustainable funding. I'm just thinking, anything else I want to say about this? Oh. So that you're aware, our goal, and this is a New York State goal for us, and I think that this will probably be familiar to you, is to have 3 months worth of operational income, and so that for us would be 1 million. So we are right now around the 400,000 point, so we're trying to recover to that 1 million in order to be in compliance with that and in a safe place. Yes, go ahead.
I'm trying to understand total core expenses and then core personnel expenses.
Core is what we call the center of the organization. In other words, what the appropriation funds. So within our financial structure, we've got operations core, agriculture core, environment core, et cetera, and that's the appropriation funding plus indirects.
It's an internal vocabulary.
Okay.
This is really just another depiction, and I think this is more confusing, so I'm going to go through it pretty quickly. But what I really want you to see in this as I go through it is the change over time in our portfolio balance. And again, this is, just thinking about for every $1,000 of reduction in our county dollars, CCE must raise an additional $7,500 to make up for that loss. So, this is why you see the portfolio change significantly over time. And so I'll just fly through that. So you can see that the base did shrink, and so the public and the private increased in accordance to that. Any questions on that? Just shows just the change of the balance over time. Did you have a question?
Yeah, I guess. I noticed there was a big increase in private funding in 2022 specifically, and then after that it just went back to what seems to be the baseline of being within the mid 700,000 to high 800,000 range. I'm just wondering what specifically happened then, and I mean also this data is just to COVID, so was that the norm before? Or?
I mean, there's a lot of details in it, but the most significant portion of it can be accounted for by a couple of program grants that are no longer there.
All right.
I mean, I could give you more details in a follow-up if you'd like, but
thank you.
I don't see the 2026 data here in the chart. Am I missing?
Oh, I didn't include 22. That's because we didn't put it together.
Do you happen to have those figures?
We'll put one together for you.
Well, yeah, I do.
You have one? I did. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, that's fine.
I just realized.
I couldn't compare, so.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Huh. All right.
I can also get that to you as a follow-up rather than
That's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious what the public and private, you know, the same numbers, but for 2026.
But, you know, like the shape continues because we did go aggressively seeking those additional foundation and federal grants when we saw the cuts coming down from here and a couple other places.
And were you able to get the 270 thereabouts?
Cobbled it together, sort of. I mean, short-term agreements, so it's really a Band-Aid. But we think so, so long as none of the contracts get pulled.
Why is it only a Band-Aid?
Because the funding agreements last for 2 years.
They're just temporary.
Right. So and they're not renewable, so we'll have to find something else to come after that. But for now, we have that and should be helping us to meet our goals.
So just the overall, the impact, as we've just discussed, it's, we have had some job cuts, so we have included in that time frame of reduction, just so you understand that we do take every effort to make sure we are operating efficiently, but we did have some job cuts. We did have some attrition, and we just did not replace those positions, and that was primarily in the finance department, but also in administration. In our front desk coverage is probably where that is most evident. And then, as we demonstrated, just some drawdown from our fund balance.
What is RYS?
RYS is the Rural Youth Services. So those are two examples of areas where we've had to draw down from our fund balance to offset the cost of those programs. Of interest is the RYS. It's a county contract, and we've found that there is a pretty consistent need to supplement that program because of the cost of doing that program has been more than what the contracts have provided. We're renegotiating and having conversations, of course, with our with the youth departments to talk to them about how to make that adjustments, but also make those adjustments in a way that they can tolerate also. The AFPB of interest there is that we've been doing that work, as you know, you've been working with Crystal, that has not been written into our appropriations, or it's been written in, but it has been lost. So that work has kind of is also part of the fund balance, but as you can see from the math, it really is not covering the cost of that. So we have had to draw from fund balance for that support as well.
Cynthia, I have a question. It occurred to me a little late in this presentation. Do any of the other local municipalities contribute to CCE, like the city, town, village?
Yeah, all of the towns except for Ulysses contract us for youth services, and we're doing some work on workforce development with the city of Ithaca.
And are those all the contracts, not appropriations?
Those are all
Correct.
contracts.
Yeah. And we do citizen pruners with Ithaca and Ulysses.
Great. And Irene, if you have any questions about rural youth services, my kids have had great experiences there. I'd be happy to chat with you.
Yeah, no, I don't have questions about the program. I just have.
I would love to talk about it.
Yeah, no, I just have questions about, how these things, how the money that you're appropriated for these programs isn't enough to do the work, and how you tighten that up or get more from the funders or whatever. The programs are, I think, just, for the record, the programs CCE offers, I think, are great. There's so much that, both volunteers and the work that you guys do in this community that I think is really important and appreciate. But it's tough to see, that graph of your fund balance is even worse than the graph of our fund balance. which is also not good. I mean, we've had, you know, the same kind of thing of dipping in ways that I would hope that, I mean, it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for us. It's not sustainable for you.
Well, thank you for that recognition, and yeah, I'm very proud of the work the CC does. I love team. They're incredible people, and the work is all by heart. And I'm going to get teary every time I talk about it. They're incredible. And thank you for the recognition. Yeah. They are doing great things. When it comes to what we accomplished during the 5 years, thinking about the 5 years, I think this is, you know, this is what gets me just, so this is how this is what makes me proud, right? So now, again, I haven't been here the full 5 years, but in, you know, with the type of funding that they're able to leverage, and with alignment, you know, with our mission, which is also in alignment with the county strategic plans and you know, the work that's important to you. There's been a lot of things that have happened in the past 5 years. What's interesting to me historically is that within that 5 years, there was a focus on the operations of CCE and an investment made primarily in OTRs during that period of trying to rebuild our organizational structure so that we had an administration that was able to really serve and operate well for the organization. So from that, we did create a much more robust finance team, HR, and our board, which is all made up of volunteers, is much more educated and aware of the type of work that takes place within CCE. So there was just a real big focus on the operational support and redeveloping that structure. During that 5-year period, all of the investments, again, this is that period also that our appropriations were at that stable number of $760,000. They leveraged those investments during this 5 years to grow from the 37 to about 42 different programs, and within that includes programs such as the 2Gen PS at Works program, the workforce development expansion, and what I mean by that is the expansion into not just energy warriors, but there's other examples of workforces that we're modeling within other program areas, and workforce is now expanded into another county. So the energy warriors example is being adopted in other counties. The Yellow Barn initiative, FFFA, which is the Finding Funds for Farmers. That's because of a OTR during that period. We developed and have a very robust programs around agrivoltaics and helping support our farmers in that regard. We're really expanding our agroforestry work in that 5-year period, and an emphasis on specifically nut cropping. So that's hazelnuts and tree nuts. We developed our energy hub, and that's the hub which is the education around heat and helping individuals with their energy bills. We developed the social resource navigation program. That's in line with the 1115 waiver work. That's bringing in significant amount of dollars into the community from outside, but more importantly, helping to address social needs of patients that have frequent visits to hospitals. We've started a civic engagement social science program. We started the Supporting Strong Families programs. We implemented composting in schools program. We implemented a payment for ecosystems research project. And of course, the Lansing Non-Pipes Alternative, all of that in the last 5 years. So there's a lot of things that we were able to leverage from those fundings to help us to implement these programs. I have a lot of, that's not all the programs, of course.
So something you said just, triggered another thought for me. I'm familiar with the hub. I used to be on Get Your Green Back before.
Irene, do you mind using your microphone?
Oh, sorry. So I'm familiar with, how some of your programs go beyond Tompkins County to provide work in other counties. Do those other counties have their own co-op extension offices?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like, so if we're providing programming to other counties, do those counties provide any support to you guys?
Yes.
Financial support?
Yes, so absolutely. So that work is actually a shared, so we contract with them, and the funds, if they're grant funds to help support the implementation, but it's usually they're adopting our model. And then there is a shared labor, which has a compensation involved.
Okay, but nothing
In other words,
that,
the monies are not going to outside to other counties, but the models are what is going out to other counties.
okay, so the educational outreach happens.
Yes.
But I guess I'm just wondering, does any of that count towards the state match, or, is there a way to leverage that funding to your budget?
Right.
To leverage more from the state?
So those are more in grants that take, this is getting complicated, so that I think it's best if it goes from here.
Yeah, it's mostly in grants, and there's a lot of business relationships between county CCEs. We're the lead for the Southern Tier Clean Energy Hub, overseeing and coordinating with Broome, Schuyler, Shenango, Tioga, and somebody I always forget. You're great, whoever you are. So there are those relationships. It comes back and forth. The state 224 kind of benefits would be the county fundings that, for example, the Broome legislature appropriates for Broome CCE.
But they don't provide any funding that could qualify for the 224 match?
Oh, I got you. No.
To us?
I see what your question is.
No, we don't, county level CCE associations don't pay each other out of our county appropriations.
Or out of state.
We keep that within our borders.
That would be primarily grant-funded relationship, yeah.
Iris?
So I feel like there's a lot of data around your funding. I don't have the 2026 data, but I was just back of the napkin for your 2025. It's about 4.16 million. Does that, just adding up the three pillars, if that's, yeah.
Yeah, that was, yes.
Okay, and then I see you said the payroll is about 1.16 million.
That's for
That's for people on core. So the areas that are funded by the appropriation and indirects. Our total payroll is about, what is it, 7 million?
What is? I guess I'm curious about.
Yeah, total association-wide payroll is around 7 million. The 1.1 figure is payroll under the cores, encompassing the 30 people who are paid wholly or in part from the county appropriation.
Okay.
So like one of the questions was, what do we use it for? We use it to pay those 30 people.
Got it.
That's the 1.1. And then the remainder of the payroll is funded through our programmatic grants and contracts.
I guess I'm curious to see, because you talk about ROI in the community, how the money is spent, because you have a lot of how the money, where it comes from, but I'm interested in where it goes. So it sounds like your budget is more than the 4 million. It's more than the 7 million.
Yeah, our annual budget, like last year we lost federal funding, so it ended up being about 8 million instead of 10.
Okay.
But
so of the 8 to 10 million, I'm curious, how that breaks down. Payroll, are those people who live in the county, and then what other expenses there are. I imagine you probably have that data in some report or something, but if you just sort of anecdotally, so that we can visualize when you say it's an ROI, it's going into the community, what does that mean? Is it paychecks and then people are, spending it on living, or is it also other things?
Yeah. Paychecks, local businesses in agreement. One of our programs is buy local. We prioritize local economic circulation and doing business. Some of it is paying subcontracts to CCE Schuyler for doing energy work for us in their county. But most of it is, when doing the ROI numbers for Tompkins, I really try very hard to disaggregate any money that would be coming in from local sources or that would be coming here anyway, even if we weren't around, and also correcting for levels of expenditures that we are really, like I slice out things like paying a university in Spain to help us develop a curriculum, right? Because that's not ROI for Tompkins. It's money that just sort of bounced off of a bank that was in Tompkins.
So I think what I'm hearing is you would like to see how the dollars are spent and then what the outcome of those dollars is?
You don't have to go that detailed. I was just curious, like most nonprofits have to report sort of administrative and, payroll and.
Just just the overall internal budget. Because, when we talk about return on investment, each program has a different type of return. It could be a social return. There's some economic return. Some of it is about fund generation. Some of it is more long-term impact, like environmental impact. So there's lots of different ways to demonstrate the return on investment. It's just part of our challenge of expressing. But I think what we can get for you, if I'm hearing you correctly, is just our overall broken down budget internally is how you would like to see where each of those pieces go.
And sort of major categories of expenses would be helpful.
Yeah, I've got that, just not here.
Yep, we can get that to you.
Okay. Judith, and then I also just want to do a time check. We're coming up on 11:30, which is the official end time for our committee. So I haven't looked to see how many more slides you're about to the end. And I just want to add, this is an important conversation for us and for you. And so if people are able to stay longer, obviously I'm not going to strap you to your seat, but if you can, and if we're able to continue the conversation till questions run out, I'm willing to stay, and I hope others can do that too. So Judith.
Just wanted to mention I'm one of the legislative liaisons to the CCE board. I'm on the strategic planning committee. One of the things we've been talking about there is how to actually quantify the social impacts in a way that is meaningful of the CCE, because it's hard when there's so many programs and so many parts of so many programs, and they change from year to year as new grants come on and old grants go off. But how many people's lives are touched by the CCE and at what level, I think that can then be compared to the dollars that are going in from the county, and we can understand how the community is benefiting.
Yeah, and even just like number of people served by programs is, it's not the full picture of the importance of the programs, but for the numbers that Iris is looking for, if you could do something like that, would be interesting.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So we'll wrap it up. And so I hope, this is when we are in our conversations with our county administrator, we're looking to recover back to the target, which was back in 2023 to 2025, is what we're talking about. So that's what we're requesting so that we can get back to a more stable.
Okay.
And I think, we can talk more about that another time, but I think that's where I think we've talked, we've had a lot of questions, and I hope that I've helped to answer, and thank you, Rob. Awesome, always. And I am here for you. If you have any questions, I'm always available to have a conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Are there other questions that anyone has? What a surprise. Judith has a question.
I just wanted to make a comment, which is there's been some questions going around on the local listserv about how homeowners can access, how they can get solar panels installed in their house and what the best way is to do that. And it's not a question for you necessarily, but for us in general, I'm not sure, people didn't seem to be able to come up with very good resources for each other on this question. So it's something maybe we could look into. For CCE and for Pete.
Yeah, the Green Energy Hub has that on their website.
Which does?
The hub, the Green Energy
Green
Hub,
Energy Hub. Okay.
on the CCE website.
And then I have a report from the Biosolids Working Group before people leave.
Okay, and I'll do a quick chair report and other committee reports as well, real quick. Thank you guys so much.
Awesome, thank you.
Thank you very much for giving us so much time.
Oh, of course. I mean, it's an important program in our community, and we need to know about it and need to be able to make responsible budget decisions, so thank you.
And please reach out if any questions. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, on to committee reports. Judith.
So I wanted to report, wasn't a lot to report from the WRC. There was a letter about dredging that was reviewed, but the Biosolids Working Group met on May 28th for the first time. And there's sort of two elements we wanted to pursue. One is finding more expertise to answer some questions about the data. Data includes things like how do we even track the biosolids coming into our community, and how do we track what happens to the biosolids going out of our community, both for commercial and residential. And then the main questions we wanted to address is legally, what can we or can we not do. So our county attorney is pursuing those legal questions, and we plan to reconvene in late July with some new expertise that we're sourcing in the meantime.
Great, thanks. Anyone else, committee reports? I can just give a very quick update. The case board met to, in part, consider how they're going to undertake strategic planning. And then also to provide some rather depressing updates of what has been happening with the governor and the budget, and how that has impacted the climate goals, greenhouse gas emission reduction goals, and various things. So I'm going to pull together a bunch of information on that, because there was some good news in the budget related to energy affordability that has been built in. There are some laws that I'm hoping make it all the way across to the governor's desk, also related to that. And then I'll also include what did and didn't happen with the climate stuff. So I'll put a report together on all of that in another week or so. Yeah.
Just one other comment, which is there was some news reports just yesterday about how the state legislature is likely to pass a one-year moratorium on data center construction, which then would have to be signed by the governor. And I'm wondering how that would impact things locally and whether there's anything we should be doing.
I think that it's a good question. The moratorium will require the DEC to look at environmental impacts and how to mitigate those. Part of the requirement is to look at how they would be required to build up their renewable energy use over time. They've also requiring that the Public Service Commission look at special rates that would be charged to data centers so as to not impact the costs for the rest of us. So all of that would be worked on in the coming year when there is a moratorium. I don't know to what extent that would affect the planning that wants to continue in Lansing. There's also some legal stuff that's going on in regards to that as well. So yeah, don't know where that's all going to land. Anything else? All right, well, seeing no other business before the body, this meeting is officially adjourned. Thank you all.